The start of Game 3. We welcome you to the WNBA Finals 2019 presented by YouTube TV. The Mystics took Game 1. The Sun responded, taking Game 2. As we take a look at the starting lineups, beginning with the visiting Washington Mystics, who are delighted to see both Ariel Atkins and Elena Delle Donne in the starting lineup after they were both questionable to play in this game, both dealing with back injuries. Delle Donne, of course, leaving in the first quarter of Game 2. And for the Connecticut Sun, no group of 5 players has ever played more minutes together in a season than that starting 5. A sold-out crowd in an arena where Connecticut has gone 17-2 this season, including the playoffs, and Washington wins the volley off the tip. And right away a steal. Jasmine Thomas in for 2.
Jasmine Thomas has been an impactful defensive presence throughout the course of these finals. You see her here starting, defending Kristi Tolliver.
Cloud with Strickland on her again. That was an adjustment in Game 2 from Sun head coach Curt Miller.
Tasha Cloud yesterday saying, I need to be more aggressive when Strickland is on me.
Instead, it's Sanders who misfires on the jumper. Thomas scrapes away the rebound, and you know she wants to push. Thomas leaves it, and Jasmine finishes it.
Connecticut offensively at their best when they get a board, especially with Alyssa Thomas, and they can push the other way.
Cloud will fire and hit. A big one for Washington and a big one for Cloud.
Cloud is the player who Connecticut will help off of. She is the player that they will live with her taking that shot. Before the series, Curt Miller told us she may be the MVP of this if she hits the shots.
And a whistle away from the ball against Sanders.
Washington all season has had such good ball movement, and the help side defender, the player who came, was Shekinna Strickland, which is why Cloud was open.
Williams using the screen from Thomas. Can't hit the jumper. Long rebound snatched by Atkins.
Ryan, my eyes are very much on Elena Delle Donne, and she right now, to me, as she's moving on both ends of the floor, looks like a player who's been dealing with back issues the past few days.
She gets an open look there, and the back spry enough to connect.
The back is spry.
That's right. At least on that stroke.
Her movement is different.
Strickland hits the jumper, wanted it and one. Curt Miller talked about perhaps needing more offense from some of the pieces they have not gotten it, as that's knocked out of bounds by Jasmine Thomas. Strickland being one of them. Let's take a look at Delle Donne here.
You just see it's a little bit different pace and a little bit different speed, but great screen by Kristi Tolliver, because Elena Delle Donne, probably no matter what the injury, can still do that.
Cloud underneath. Gets it back in the corner and rattles in another. She's in her first 2 from deep. And a strong response from Washington after Connecticut scored the first 4. Jones isolated on Sanders. Goes cross court. 5 to shoot. Nice find, Jasmine to Alyssa Thomas.
Connecticut knew coming into this game that Jonquel Jones was going to draw a lot of defensive attention. Another one by Cloud.
Well, she tells you she wanted to be more aggressive. I think we've seen that.
Yeah, without question. She said she's felt disrespected in Game 2, that Shekinna Strickland was on her, because Shekinna Strickland is not the best perimeter defender for the Connecticut Sun.
Thomas throws it away.
I mean, pick and roll is Connecticut Sun game, and especially Jasmine Thomas and Alyssa Thomas are terrific connecting with one another.
Here's Sanders, 6 to shoot. Trying to pivot her way to some space, and didn't have anything going there. Courtney Williams having an outstanding playoffs, averaging 24 points per game so far in these finals. Strickland, a deep one. Too strong. Rebecca, how difficult is it to go through a week of practice not knowing if your MVP is going to be on the floor or not, and then suddenly, you get the good news that she is, but you haven't prepared with her necessarily?
It's easier to know what to prepare for, and talking to players yesterday at practice, they all just assumed Elena wasn't going to play. But keep in mind, this is a Washington team that the month of games leading into the playoffs, they didn't have Christy Tolliver. So they are used to players being in and out of the lineup, key players.
Jasmine Thomas just blows a wide open layup as we check in with Holly.
Well, as you talked about, Elena Delle Donne moving a little carefully right now. One reason is she is wearing some big protective device under her jersey. You can see under her back there is a padding or a brace that's about 6 inches tall wrapped around her midsection. That in and of itself is kind of making her move a little more stiffly than normal. She's been doing about 5 hours a day of physical therapy to be out here right now with her team.
But watch where she plays on the floor. You're going to see her float a little bit on the perimeter. You're certainly not going to see her post up very much, a place where you get more contact. But again, just her being on the floor is going to provide spacing for her team.
Tolliver nearly lost it. Delle Donne scrambles to it. Cloud finds Atkins off on a three, and the rebound ends up back with Washington. But a foul against Connecticut.
Ryan, this is how I look at my age these days when I go down, try to get back up. But this is a final. She's going to do everything she can. She's going to get a little bit of a rest now. But, it's going to be a different kind of pace of the game with these bigs in.
And interesting that Delle Donne retreats right back to the locker room after that substitution. So Emma Miesemann, Tiana Hawkins, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, and Aerial Powers in. Natasha Cloud is the only starter remaining on the floor for Washington. Miesemann gets a wide open look, and there's been a few breakdowns both on the defensive glass and now on the interior from Connecticut.
You talk about the uncertainty with Washington, knowing who's going to be out there. Same thing is for the Connecticut Sun in terms of their defensive matchups and what to prepare for.
Jones misfires on a three. Here comes Powers. Powers had some bright moments in the second half of game 2 as Washington overcame a big deficit to tie the game and eventually fall as Walker-Kimbrough buries a three, and it's an 8-point first quarter lead for Washington.
This is exactly what Washington needed to do, coming into this building with a sold-out crowd to keep them quiet.
Jones wide open, off on a three, and the rebound knocked out of bounds off Connecticut. How about the start for the Washington Mystics?
Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, one of the players who comes in off the bench. Tremendous confidence, showing what she can do here.
Welcome back to Connecticut here with Washington Mystics guard Christy Tolliver. And Christy, first and foremost, how important was it to have Elena Delle Donne and Ariel Atkins, both who've had back issues, on the floor as starters for you today?
Yeah, you always want the MVP of the league on the floor with you. That just instills confidence in the rest of the team with her presence alone. And obviously having little A can make a huge impact with us on the defensive end. So to have those two back is huge.
Connecticut came out, really kind of punched you in the mouth early. You guys responded and have quieted this crowd. How crucial was that?
Yeah, we talked about that before the game. It's all about absorbing punches. They're going to come at us early, and it's a matter of how we respond. And the most poised, composed team is going to win this game.
Thank you.
A 3-second violation on the first possession out of the timeout, but Christy Tolliver's Washington Mystics an 8-point first quarter lead on Connecticut. Big screen from Alyssa Thomas as Williams couldn't finish. Jones able to gather the offensive rebound. It sets up Holmes in and out on a three.
Ryan, we've seen that throughout the course of the playoffs. Alyssa Thomas setting the tone physically. She's the most physically dominant, tough player in any series throughout the course of these playoffs.
Good hands by Jones, forced to steal. Holmes in transition, plays it in, plus the foul.
Bria Holmes, such a bright spot for the Connecticut Sun in game 2, and her game is getting out in transition, active hands by the Connecticut Sun. Holmes going end to end for the and one.
Tiana Hawkins picks up the personal as Holmes completes the three-point play. It's Powers, Tolliver, Miesemann, Walker, Kimbrough, and Hawkins, the 5 on the floor for Washington. Tolliver, the lone starter. Now, Elena Delle Donne, we saw come out, go back to the locker room. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, I was able to check with the athletic training staff for the Washington Mystics, and part of their plan is to make sure that if she's not in the game, they keep her back in the locker room stretching. So hopefully she will be able to return if she can keep that back loose.
All right, Holly, thank you very much. So seeing Elena go back was part of the original plan, as Alyssa Thomas can't bank it in.
Great box out by Tiana Hawkins to keep a body on Jonquel Jones.
Tolliver, a long 3 is good. Christy Tolliver was very critical of herself after game 2 as Elena Delle Donne back on the bench to watch her teammates splash from deep.
When you look at the statistics for the Washington Mystics between wins and losses as the offensive foul gets called on Connecticut, one of the big key factors, in wins, they average 10 made threes, and in losses, it's half of that. They are on track here in terms of their three-point shooting so far.
Yeah, they shoot it from 40. They shoot it 40% from 3 in their wins compared to 27% in their losses. They're 5 of 7 thus far from 3 here in game 3. Tolliver will take another and hit again. That is not an easy look, but cool hand Christie connecting. An 11-point first quarter lead, stunning the Sun crowd. Holmes slicing through, missed another one at the rim. And Connecticut has had a few of those in the first. Tolliver, you can tell she's feeling it, and Hawkins alone lays it in. Timeout, Connecticut.
Christy Tolliver, a player who can take the game into her own hands. Not only shooting these deep threes over the long arms, but then we saw the pass to Tiana Hawkins as well.
WNBA Finals, including scores, news, and highlights. Get the WNBA app. Download for free today from the App Store.
The Washington Mystics were best in the WNBA this season in three-pointers made per game. They have come out firing here, taking advantage of the players who are open and even the ones who aren't. Great defense. Christy Tolliver says it doesn't matter, my offense is even better. The exact start the Mystics wanted here in front of a sold-out Connecticut crowd.
Christy Tolliver, the lone player in this series who has won a WNBA title, did so with LA in 2016. Elena Delle Donne back on the floor for Washington. They've allowed just 1 offensive rebound to Connecticut so far in this first, as 3 seconds is called against Connecticut.
Jonquel Jones wanted the basketball, and sometimes as a post player, when you get good position and you hold it and don't get the ball, you stay in there a little bit too long.
Sounds like somebody speaking from experience.
Oh, it's still the guard's fault. You end up with the 3-second, but it's their fault for not giving it to you.
Tolliver kicks, Miesemann drives, and lays it in. Washington getting whatever they want on the Sun.
And when Miesemann is attacking, Connecticut's not going to send help because they would rather Miesemann take the 2 than dish out for the 3, especially the way the Mystics are shooting the ball right now.
A 10-0 Washington run. They've also had 2 9-2 runs. Williams misses the layup. Another missed layup from the Sun.
And no second chance. Great defensive box outs by the Mystics so far.
Walker Kimbrough gets fouled, and Washington absolutely dominating this opening frame of game 3.
And when a team is making threes and you have to respect that, what does it give you? More spacing and the ability to drive down the lane. We've seen it from Emma Miesemann. We saw it here from Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. The defense is sucking out because, hey, they're making their threes.
This is the YouTube TV Try It free throw. Watch WNBA games and 70+ live channels when you try YouTube TV for free at tvyoutube.com. Washington Mystics, by far and away the #1 free throw shooting team in the league this season, setting a WNBA record, shooting it at 87.5% as a team. They have a 17-point lead here in the first quarter as Holmes gets that one to drop, ending the 12-0 run. Tolliver throws it away. Holmes gets fouled in the backcourt by Tolliver.
Bria Holmes' game is getting out in transition and when they're in the half court attacking. This is what she does so well. She doesn't need much space, Ryan, and she can get to the rim. Right now, Connecticut going with a bigger lineup. They've got Jonquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas, and Morgan Tuck in there. Morgan Tuck, a player, though, even though she's big, can hit from the three-point line, help extend the D.
Holmes slicing through the lane again, able to finish again.
And the uniqueness of this Connecticut lineup is that it puts Alyssa Thomas as their point guard.
Walker Kimbrough can't hit. Meeseman fighting with Jones and able to win the possession back to Washington. And Jonquel Jones has not been the same beast on the glass thus far here in Game 3.
And credit Washington. They are absolutely looking to box her out the second the shot goes up. They're there.
Still a 2-for-1 opportunity if Tolliver fires in a hurry. Deladon gives it up. Tolliver kicks. 5 to shoot. Meeseman, the feathery touch on the move.
Alyssa Thomas, point guard right here. We've seen this in very small doses throughout the course of the season for the Connecticut Sun.
Shot clock turned off. Final 8 seconds of the first quarter. Thomas, a straight line drive, just trying to muscle around Deladon. Crowd wanted a foul, they didn't get it, and that'll do it for the first quarter. Washington, a 15-point lead after one here in a pivotal Game 3. The WNBA Finals presented by YouTube TV will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Welcome back to Connecticut, here with Washington head coach Mike Thibault. And coach, how are you managing Elena Deladon's minutes so far in this game?
Trying to play her about 4 minutes at a time, a little bit, between that 4 and 5 minute mark, get her rest, get her on the bike in the back, and get her back in. Try to keep her warm. I don't want her to sit real long either, so otherwise she'll stiffen up.
How do you communicate that message to the rest of your group so they know what's expected of them at these key moments?
I didn't hear all of that.
How do you tell the rest of your team that plan so they know what's expected of them?
We've talked about subbing. We're going to sub a little bit more today anyway to keep people fresh. We're just trying to get the right matchups right now. So they're prepared for what's going on. We didn't do a very good job on Bria Holmes there.
Thank you, coach.
You bet.
Well, the beauty of a Game 3 is there's so much of a chess match between the coaches. I'm fascinated right now with Connecticut having Alyssa Thomas running the point guard position, especially with Elena Deladon guarding her. That forces her to get low in a stance on the perimeter, run her off screens.
Meeseman traveled as Washington turns it over. Ryan Rucco, the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo, Holly Rowe with you. Game 3 of these best-of-5 2019 WNBA Finals. Mike Thibault, once the beloved head coach of the Connecticut Sun, spent 10 terrific years here, now has rebuilt Washington. And his team has a 13-point lead after that layup from Jones.
And one of the other things that this lineup does is it puts Cloud on Tuck, which forces Ariel Atkins to be on Courtney Williams. Sorry, get going a little bit there with the assist. Sorry, Ryan, this stuff really excites me.
No, I think we all love that. Long three is way off for Atkins, and Williams the rebound, flings it down the floor. Holmes finds Tuck on the move. So how does Washington counter the big lineup?
Well, I think right now, most importantly, they need a calm offensive possession. This is normally where you'd play through Elena Deladon. Well, today, when she's not quite 100%, do you do that, or do you go here through Emma Meeseman, who's played really well in stretches in this series?
Williams nearly took it away. Instead, Tolliver ends up with it. Cloud at 8 points in the first, in and out on a 3, and another offensive rebound for Washington. Deladon steps inside. She'll get a look and hit from 3. Elena Delle Donne, the two-time MVP, has hit both of her looks from deep.
Elena Delle Donne at 50% is still pretty darn good.
2 offensive rebounds on the possession for Washington as Williams finally has her first field goal. To your point, Rebecca.
Ariel Atkins defended Courtney Williams in game 1, and after the game, Courtney Williams said, "No disrespect, but I felt like I could get any shot I wanted."
She did in game 2. Eventually, Cloud was put on her, and Cloud did a nice job to start game 3 as Williams didn't score in the first. Atkins forced it up. Here comes Thomas. A freight train in transition. And I'm not sure where Holmes was going with that pass.
Elena Delle Donne, I mean, here, normally she would take that another dribble. It doesn't matter, you still got to close out. I mean, she's clearly physically not healthy 100%, but still can drain shots like that when she's open.
And back to the locker room she'll go, as Holly Rowe explained to us, part of what will be her normal substitution pattern today, so she does not stiffen up sitting on the bench as she deals with the small herniation of a disc in her back. Tolliver gets fouled as Tuck hedged on the screen. Morgan Tuck back to the bench. Jasmine Thomas, the starting point guard for Connecticut, back in.
Better defensive matchup now. Jasmine Thomas, one of the elite perimeter defenders in the league.
That went off Hawkins' leg, right to Williams. Has one to her left, one to her right. Will take the shot. No. Jones can't get to the offensive glass. Hawkins does collect for Washington. Atkins beelines inside. A nice job by Jones to guide it over to Alyssa Thomas. Jasmine will fire. She has not had her shot in this series.
And when you have your bigs getting a ton of offensive rebounds, you feel more confident in your shots, knowing, all right, if they don't go in, one of my teammates is going to get the offensive board. That hasn't been the case here so far for Connecticut.
Connecticut shooting it at 44%. It's Williams. That is a tough look. And a bit of a force from Courtney Williams. Washington, meanwhile, is a plus 21 from the three-point line in this first half.
Defensively, though, this has been a clinic on how to box out by the Washington Mystics in this game. Connecticut with 17 offensive rebounds in game 2. How many do they have here, Ryan? One. And that's because of the boxing out of the Washington Mystics.
Well, we were talking with Mike Tebow about his confidence coming into game 3 with or without Elena, and he said, look, we just need to box out. If you look at the box score from game 2, they had 12 more shots than us. That's the game. Walker Kimbrough, how about her minutes in this first half? Just got little sniffs of the floor in game 1 and 2, but playing extended minutes here in game 3 and coming through for her team. Thomas floats it in.
I'm wondering, too, the energy that Jonquil Jones is expending trying to get to the offensive glass. In what ways will that impact her on the defensive end, and what ways will that impact her when they try to play through her on the offensive end? Because she's running into bodies every time.
Hawkins goes right around Alyssa Thomas. Rare to see Thomas get burned like that. The player who Kurt Miller calls his best defender.
Been so impressed with Tiana Hawkins in this series. Off the bench, she has been terrific.
14-point Washington lead. Holmes, a deep one, is short. Trying to follow it up, she does. Strickland gives it up. Jasmine Thomas. The pull-up is good. Connecticut trying to find some sort of rhythm in this second quarter as the foul is called against the Sun. Will step aside, 4:40 to go in the second quarter. Washington a 12-point lead in game 3. On Friday, in partnership with AT&T, Connecticut Sun players and WNBA League and team executives hosted a Her Time to Play clinic and panel discussion in the Connecticut community. Female athletes and trailblazers discussed the unique challenges girls and women in sports face and focused on teaching the fundamentals of the game. The WNBA is dedicated to inspiring girls to play sports in a positive and healthy way and to provide leadership opportunities within youth basketball for women to coach and mentor. Well, those fans satisfied thus far. The Washington Mystics a 12-point second quarter lead. Game 3 of a 1-1 best-of-5 finals as Cloud misfires. Thomas tried to gobble up the rebound and a foul on the loose ball against Washington.
The Washington Mystics are at their best when they move the ball around, get open threes, and drain those threes. And because of that and their efficiency at getting to the free throw line, for a team to beat them, they often have to get more looks. They have to get more field goal attempts. Connecticut had 12 more field goal attempts in game 2. Not been the case here because of the job Washington's doing on the defensive boards.
Meanwhile, speaking of field goal attempts, Jones has taken just 2 shots this first half. Hawkins on the steal, and she stepped out of bounds after the misguided pass to Walker Kimbrough. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
In that last huddle, Kurt Miller of the Connecticut Sun talked about just that, establishing Jonquel Jones. He said, we have got to be more physical in the paint. We've got to get Alyssa Thomas and Jonquel touches, establish our physicality now. We've got to go in, out, in, out. He wants more touches for his bigs in the paint.
Well, that was just the 3rd field goal attempt for Jones, and all 3 have been from beyond the arc.
Yes, while that was a touch, they want her getting touches closer to the basket. See if Washington's going to send a double team. Great job, again. Sanders hitting the open shot.
Remember, after game 1, when Jones had just 8 field goal attempts, she talked about her having to be vocal with her teammates about getting her the basketball. Did that in game 2, has not gotten the touches in game 3, as Alyssa Thomas blows the bunny. Aerial Powers pirouetting, trying to keep her footing with Holmes there. Powers can't squeeze it in.
That's not Washington's best basketball. They don't want to go one-on-one like that. They want to move the ball around, more passes than dribbles.
Boy, another poor pass from Bria Holmes as Connecticut turns it over. And Mike Tebow's going to take a timeout. 3:07 to go in this first half. Washington, a 14-point lead. They have thoroughly controlled the first half. Coming up on the WNBA Halftime Report presented by State Farm, Holly Rowe sits down with Good Morning America's Robin Roberts and UConn head women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma. That plus will reveal the all WNBA first and second teams. It's a jam-packed halftime.
People who watched the early years of the WNBA remember Gino and Robin calling games together, Tim Corrigan producing in the truck for ESPN.
And they're all in the building today.
They are. Imagine that.
Cloud unable to hit the layup. A 14-point Washington lead. You know, Rebecca, sometimes a younger team doesn't have a ton of playoff experience. When they're hosting their first finals game, as Jasmine Thomas hits the jumper, they can look a little shook. Have you seen that at all from the Sun in this first half?
I have. I think they want it so badly. They want to involve their crowd, this sellout crowd, so badly that they haven't necessarily been playing at the pace in which they want to play, Ryan.
Tolliver looking to shake Jasmine Thomas, can't finish. Jonquel Jones the rebound, maybe an opportunity for the Sun here. Strickland on the move around Delle Donne, bangs it in off the glass.
Smart. Shakina Strickland saw Elena Delle Donne coming out, knows that in this state of health, Delle Donne cannot stay with her.
Can Connecticut finish the half strongly? Tolliver went one-on-one last possession to no avail. She gets the switch on Strickland. 6 to shoot, Miesemann. Jones overhelped, and Miesemann trying to take advantage, could not.
Great help defense, Courtney Williams.
Williams finds Jasmine Thomas. Here's a catch in the paint for Alyssa. Good look, and Jonquel Jones puts it in. Just her second paint touch of the game. And for Jonquel Jones, her first field goal. Timeout, Washington.
Jonquel Jones was the story of Game 2, an absolute monster. She has been quiet so far here in Game 3, but starting to get it going maybe on that possession.
Well, we talked with Mike Tebow before the start of Game 3. He said, look, Alyssa Thomas is going to get hers. We need to try and limit Jonquel Jones and Courtney Williams. Just slow them down some. He's been able to do that up until this point in the first half.
Well, he couldn't ask for more defensively regarding that. Jones and Courtney Williams have combined for 4 points. That's something Coach Tebow has to be thrilled with. And again, their job on the defensive glass, where Connecticut just ate them alive in Game 2.
Taking a look at our series schedule. Game 4, Tuesday night, 8 Eastern on ESPN2. Then Game 5, if necessary. A winner-take-all game would be Thursday in our nation's capital at 8 p.m. Also on ESPN2. Elena Delle Donne will get an early jump on halftime. So it's Sanders Tolliver, Natasha Cloud, Emma Miesemann, and Ariel Atkins, the 5 for Washington. Strickland, Alyssa Thomas, Courtney Williams, Jonquel Jones, and Jasmine Thomas for Connecticut, their starting 5. Here's Miesemann. She's been quiet so far today. Atkins pull-up jumper is off. Jones collects the rebound.
Connecticut will not send a double team to Emma Miesemann. A long 2 from her. They will take over an open 3.
Alyssa Thomas zigging, zagging, kicking. Good movement here. Strickland connects on a 3. And just like that, it's a 5-point game, a 9-0 Sun run. Sanders jumper. No. Strickland the rebound. A 2-for-1 opportunity here for Connecticut. Williams finds Strickland. Thought about it. Gives it up. Open. Jasmine Thomas. You bet. A 12-0 Connecticut run. Tolliver leaning, hits at the buzzer. And ends the 12-0 run. But boy, did things get more interesting in those final 2 minutes.
Christy Tolliver, smart shot blocker, get her off her feet. Yes, it's out in time. She's had some nice moments here in this first half. Jonquel Jones led the WNBA in rebounding this year. You got to get her off her feet, and she does.
4-point game at the half as we check in with Holly Rowe.
Natasha Cloud, Jonquel Jones made history in the last game. What has your team done collectively to limit her impact in this game?
Upping our defensive pressure, making it harder for her to get her positions on the block, three-quarter-inner, and then upping our ball pressure, too, to make it harder for them to throw into her.
Elena Delle Donne is giving you what she can, but what must the rest of you do to elevate your games offensively?
Exactly what we've been doing, stepping up. We've had our bench players come in, step up, put some big minutes in. Our starters taking on a little bit bigger of a role. We just got to get things done on the defensive end. We were up by 20. They came back. That's the name of the game in the finals.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our score at the half, Washington 43, Connecticut 39. Stay tuned for the WNBA Halftime Report with Robin Roberts and Gino Auriemma, presented by State Farm. Thanks for coming back with us to the WNBA Finals 2019, presented by YouTube TV at the start of the third quarter. The Washington Mystics a 43-39 lead on the Connecticut Sun. And you know what? Today is not just the day of Game 3 of the finals. It is the birthday of a Hall of Famer. Happy birthday, partner. Rebecca Lobo's birthday today.
Thank you so much. No forks. How's this going to work?
Oh, no. You just go right in. You go right in like that, like Holly Rowe just did. How is it? Good? Good. Happy birthday, partner.
Thank you so much.
And I know there's nothing you love more than to have great competitive basketball on your birthday. That's what we saw in that first half, beginning with the three-point shooting of the Washington Mystics.
Pretty great way to spend my birthday, sitting courtside with you, Ryan. And Washington was outstanding in the first half in terms of getting it going from the three-point line, and it started in the first quarter. This is a team that averaged 9 made threes per game on the season, led the WNBA. They shared the wealth, moved the basketball around. That is what makes them so difficult to defend, because when they hit from the perimeter, that opens up lanes and they can drive and get to the basket. Well, how about Jasmine Thomas? Welcome back on the offensive end. She was really good, led the charge for Connecticut in that third quarter to cut into the deficit. This is a player been outstanding on the defensive end all series long, had struggled offensively a little bit in the first 2 games. Well, she's come alive here.
You see the stats from the opening half. Connecticut 2 of 9 from 3. They had missed their first 7 and then hit 2 during that 12-0 run before the Tolliver buzzer-beating shot. Elena Deladon has played 11 minutes thus far, 6 points, 2 of 2 from deep. She was a -4 in that first half. Interestingly, it's Washington's bench where you see they did the most damage. All of their starters are in the negative column when it comes to plus-minus. Tiana Hawkins, Ariel Power, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, all at least a +12 off the bench for Washington.
And this is a Washington team who's had major contributions from the bench all season long. Those players ready to go. Eager for some more minutes here in this second half.
Connecticut faced a 15-point deficit after 1, their largest first quarter deficit of the season. And then they flipped the script on Washington, outscoring the Mystics 22-11 in the second, using a 12-2 run to finish the quarter. We're set up for a pretty entertaining second half of Game 3. Each original starting 5 on the floor to begin the second half. Strickland able to collect it. Neither of those passes had enough mustard, but Jones now bodying in on Sanders, working around her. The second attempt is good, plus the foul. And that is the insistence inside, which Connecticut and Jones got away from in the first half.
Sanders has done a good job when she's been on Jones this series. Well, John Quell doesn't make it the first time, but goes and gets back on it. I mean, that's where she had so much success in Game 2.
Second personal on Sanders. I think Mike Tebow's not thrilled with the call.
I think you're right.
Hey, speaking of birthdays and coaches, it's Kurt Miller's birthday today, too.
It is.
And your son, Thomas.
Happy birthday to both of them.
And my dad. Everybody. Birthdays are wild on October 6th. Cloud. Now Tolliver. Step back 3 is good. Christy Tolliver now 3 of 3 from deep. Strickland hesitated, but hits. And after missing their first 7, Connecticut has hit its last 3 from deep. Atkins was 0 for 6 in the first half. A lot of dribbling for Ariel Atkins. Forces it up and finally gets one to drop.
That went in, but that's not the offense Washington wants. We saw it in the first half. There was a possession where Ariel Powers was dribbling the ball. That time it was one-on-one. That's not where Washington has success.
Thomas can't hit. Jasmine Thomas much better in catch and shoot situations from 3 than off the dribble. Something Kurt Miller was pointing out to us before the game as Sanders connects on the pick and pop with Tolliver.
Off an assist.
Strickland along 2 is no good. Here comes Cloud at 8 early points, has not scored since. Tolliver got a step on Jasmine Thomas. Now Thomas guarding Cloud. Cloud forcing it up too strong. Alyssa Thomas the rebound. Here comes Alyssa Thomas. Wheeling, dishing. Jones the deep catch and finish. Jones now with 5 points in the third after she had 2 the entire first half. Cloud tees it up and knocks it down.
Cloud has been outstanding. When the defense has left her to help, she's made them pay every time.
Alyssa Thomas can't bank it in. Cloud giving space again, says, all right, I'll take it. Too strong. Atkins, the only one leaping for it, and it's out of bounds off of her.
Connecticut continues to play the percentages. If they leave somebody, it's going to be Natasha Cloud. See Jonquel Jones on that end scoring, and then here, Cloud making them pay.
Williams around the Thomas screen, short. Nearly stripped Elena Delle Donne. Courtney Williams now 1 of 7 from the floor. Williams had averaged 24 points per game through the first 2 contests of the finals and has been averaging 21 throughout the playoffs. That's a foul on Alyssa Thomas, her second.
Washington's been running action to get the switch of Alyssa Thomas onto Christy Tolliver.
4 up.
Christy Tolliver's had some success there. Alyssa Thomas is a very good defender, even when she switches out on guards, but Tolliver's been able to have success in it.
Thomas 6 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists for Connecticut. Strickland and Jasmine Thomas, who had been quiet offensively the first 2 games, they are the lone members of the Sun in double figures. Cloud off on that one. Rebound Alyssa Thomas, flinging it down the floor. What a feed! Bucket and the foul! Strickland finishes a gorgeous dime from Alyssa Thomas.
We've talked about Alyssa Thomas and facilitating. Usually that means get the defensive board and push herself, but a perfect pass to Shekinna Strickland. Shekinna Strickland has had some struggles offensively in this series, and her teammates have told us repeatedly, 40's gonna come alive. 40's gonna come alive. 40 Shekinna Strickland's number, and yes, she's come alive here in game 3.
13 points on 5 of 7 shooting for Shekinna Strickland. Tolliver able to escape 2 and then finish for 2. Tolliver with 15 points. Strickland kept the left foot down. And that's going the other way. Jonquel Jones.
You know what? You don't mind that if you're Curt Miller, though, because she's working. She's posting. She's trying to establish herself here. Right, steps in, a little too much arm. You know what? That's all right, because you like the mindset from Jonquel Jones. I want the ball inside. I'm going to get positioned to get it.
First foul on Jonquel Jones, who was in some foul trouble in game 2. Tolliver's step back 2 is short. Strickland the rebound. Thomas looking to push. Alyssa Thomas, the spin, the dish, wide open Jones, extra feed, Strickland, truth on a 3. What a beautiful possession.
40's gonna come alive, Ryan.
40 is alive. Delle Donne and Tolliver crashed into each other on that handoff. Delle Donne, a 3 is good. Elena Delle Donne is 3 of 3 from deep. the MVP, playing with a small herniation of a disc in her back and giving her squad all she can. That's going the other way. Jasmine Thomas on the illegal screen.
The MVP, EDD, even at 50%, can still hit the three. Where Washington has a 5-point lead. Elena Delle Donne, uncertain if she was going to play in this game. She's contributed all that she can. She's gotten on the floor for loose balls. She's gone back to the locker room. She's 3 for 3 so far, made all of her threes, 9 points. Ryan, she's also 5 rebounds on the day. She's been a perimeter player. They are not sending her into the post where she can get bodied up a little bit more, effective for what she can provide physically.
We talked with Elena Delle Donne before game 1 as she gets sort of a mid-post look there and said, you know, what's the biggest area of growth or evolution for you this year? And she said, learning the importance of me just being on the floor for my team as she assists Cloud on a 3 there. She said it's something she's learned from Sue Bird, how just being on the floor means positive things for your teammates and a sense of calm.
This is her 3rd WNBA Finals, and she has dealt with injury every single time she's gotten there.
Williams probing, got hit by Delle Donne and able to get to the line to shoot 2 as Jones and Miesemann hit the deck as well.
This has been a very quiet afternoon for Courtney Williams, a player who has been unstoppable throughout the course of the first 2 games.
That was like 3 seconds.
Williams, just 1 of 7 from the floor, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. As she hits the first, now's the time to get your WNBA team and league gear for the latest WNBA merchandise. Finals gear and more, visit WNBAstore.com.
My best birthday present so far today was the black sweatshirt that we got.
Yes.
That you can also purchase on the WNBA store.
With the new logo.
With the new logo.
I think the kids would say it's dope.
Would they say it's dope or it's fire?
Oh, maybe that's what they say now.
Or maybe neither.
We'll have to check with one of your 4 children to get confirmation.
Yes.
Miesemann hits the face-up jumper. She has been somewhat muted today. Just 8 points for Emma Miesemann. Jones, no on a 3. That's into the arms of Walker Kimbrough, out of the arms of Thomas and Delle Donne.
Good box out by Delle Donne.
8-point lead for Washington. Aerial Powers hops inside, can't bank it home. Thomas and Williams flag it down. Connecticut had cut it to 1 twice this quarter. And a whistle underneath is going to go against Aerial Powers.
Those two were battling the entire series down the floor, Alyssa Thomas and Aerial Powers. Neither one of them will back down to the other. There was contact from one end of the floor to the other.
Aerial Powers wearing a mic for us today, as Elena Delle Donne will check out. More extended minutes in this 3rd quarter from Delle Donne than the rotation we saw in the first half.
Good defense by Emma Miesemann, preventing the ball from going into Jones.
Strickland airballs a 3 in the weak side board to Walker Kimbrough. Walker Kimbrough played strong minutes in the first half. So did Hawkins. Hawkins will take off on a 3. Powers the offensive rebound. And a timeout taken by Kurt Miller. Well, Aerial Powers certainly fired up. Amidst the trees, she finds 2. The lead is back to double digits for Washington. Join us Tuesday night. We'll have Game 4, the best of 5 WNBA Finals. The Sun host the Mystics here at Mohegan Sun Arena, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. That kid is fired up for game 4.
I've seen you dance. That's what it looks like.
Very much so. 2:19 to go in the third quarter. Washington a 10-point lead on Connecticut. In game 3 of this best-of-5 finals, the series tied at a game apiece. Connecticut had cut what was once a 17-point deficit down to 1 multiple times here in the third, but it's gotten away from them since, as Williams just cannot find her stroke today.
She's working hard. Williams is too on the defensive end of the floor because Powers is a bigger, stronger player. That can impact you on the offensive end as well.
Thomas switched on Walker Kimbrough. Hawkins has size on Jasmine Thomas. Can't finish. Washington has seemingly gotten to every loose ball today. And a jump underneath.
Tough switch for Jasmine Thomas, and then she ends up on a big, and Hawkins surrounded, but she still goes after the basketball. You're right, Ryan. They've put forth a lot of effort boxing out on one end of the floor, on the floor for loose balls on the other.
Washington is a +5 on the glass.
Ready, 18, ready!
Total reversal from what we saw in game 2.
Meets the man!
Here comes Alyssa Thomas. Forced it. And now Williams is going to check out. Rachel Banham going to get some time here for Connecticut.
Rachel Banham comes in, provides them with another threat from the perimeter, a very good three-point shooter, but I'm interested to see here how she can match up physically with Aerial Powers. Will Washington look to take it at her or post up Powers?
Powers trying to take Banham. Jasmine Thomas came over to knock it out of bounds.
Powers brings a lot of toughness. She's unafraid.
Mike Tebow was talking about her increased minutes to us before the game and said, you know, people are wondering if she's scared. As Cloud rattles in a 3 and the lead is back to 13. He said, scared? She thinks she should play 30 minutes every night when we're fully healthy.
She thinks she should play 40.
Jones, a deep touch, ducks inside and draws the foul.
Hey, I'm going over. Get our tempo up. Every time shit happens, let's go.
What a flip in the rebounding department from game 2. That was the point of emphasis for Mike Tebow. And his team has certainly gotten the message.
And all the credit in the world to Washington, because they have boxed out beautifully all game long.
Jones hits the first. Meanwhile, Rebecca, you've talked about it often today. For the Washington Mystics to win, they have to hit their threes. They are 12 of 20 from deep in this game.
It's been their recipe for success all season long. Passing the ball around, moving the defense, getting Elena Deladon touches when she's on the floor. But they spread you out, and it's such pretty basketball when they make their threes and then use the driving lanes that creates to balance it out.
No, we just saw Elena. She is standing behind the bench, not sitting, not back in the locker room right now, where she has gone at different points to stay loose throughout this game. Tolliver shook her defender, nearly traveled and did. Tolliver, she may have an argument. She thought she kept her left foot down. I think she might have.
Yeah. The blind eye, it looked to me like she had.
Let's see.
She dragged it. Yep.
Jinx. Alyssa Thomas, center of the lane, got hacked.
Offensive foul.
Oh. An offensive foul called against Alyssa Thomas, her third.
I thought that was the right call. She leads with the left elbow. Take a look as she turns. Boom, right up into the neck. That's the right call.
No question. 7-second difference, game and shot clock. Powers trapped, having trouble with it. And Powers and Thomas, who've been jockeying all game. And Thomas trying to get away as Powers was holding her leg.
Yeah. I told you, those are two players that exhibit a bunch of toughness. It looked to me like Thomas was trying to get up and Powers just wouldn't release her leg.
They're going to review this. Go to the table to further examine this incident.
Really good jump, double team defensively by Connecticut. You know, Alyssa Thomas is going to be all over that here. She's trying to get up. And Aerial Powers is squeezing her legs together, preventing Alyssa Thomas from getting her leg away. I think the most you might see from that is maybe, what?
A T on Aerial.
Yeah, maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just let it go either.
Now the goal is a jump ball.
Ariel's pinching her knees together so Alyssa Thomas can't get her leg out. And maybe she's doing that to, you know, protect her face, afraid that Alyssa Thomas's knee might come up and get her. But you'll see it right here. She's not letting her leg out.
Yeah, I mean, that could be nothing or maybe a T on Aerial.
I think it should be nothing.
Our officials, Cheryl Flores, Roy Gobayan, and Eric Bruton. Now conferring. And we'll find out right now. And it'll just be a jump ball. Now, when they review for a hostile act, as they just did, they can call anything. Call it a T, and call it flagrant, call foul, but in this case, it is just going to remain a jump ball.
And that was the right call.
Alyssa Thomas and Aerial Powers will jump it. 8 on the shot clock for Washington, should they win possession here. And they do. They're going to have to hurry. 5 to shoot. Tolliver, 2 to shoot. Tolliver, and it looked like the shot clock expired. It did.
Christy Tolliver has the ability to take over and create shots for herself, but she has to balance that with finding her teammates when they're open as well.
Shot clock remained at 0. And they are adjusting the clock. Now it's okay. The light is off and the shot clock is off. 4 seconds left in the quarter. Alyssa Thomas misses the runner, and that'll do it. Connecticut cut it to 1 multiple times early in the third, but then Elena Delle Donne and the Washington Mystics build the lead to 11 after 3. Fourth quarter action of Game 3 in a 1-1 series coming up next.
You to ask your team to dig in defensively. What has to be the focal point here in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, late one-on-one plays, big. They don't have a ton of assists on all their baskets, but they're being determined one-on-one players making big plays. Cloud stepped up big tonight behind screens, making threes. And then we got to clean up the defensive glass so we can get up and run. And offensively, we just got to slow down. We're not getting into the post. We're rushing a little bit, but we still got to run in us.
Courtney Williams, Shakina Strickland, 2 of your better three-point shooters on the bench. How do you employ them in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, they're going to be back in. We're just trying to get Courtney a blow. We have trouble getting her going tonight into her spots, but hey, you never know. She can go have a 12, 14-point quarter.
Well, that is not the start to the fourth that Connecticut and Kurt Miller wanted. Emma Mieseman getting an open look from 3, and she's automatic when she does. The 13th 3 of the day for Washington. Bria Holmes lays it in. How does Connecticut get back in this game, Rebecca?
Well, it starts, of course, with stops on the defensive end of the floor. They cannot give up any more threes, even if it means allowing drives to the basket. And that's when they're best, when they get things like this. Alyssa Thomas with the drive and take the other way.
And she's fouled hard by Walker Kimbrough. A smart foul, as Thomas is a poor free throw shooter.
You heard Curt Miller say, we've got another run in us, and this is how it starts. Activity on the defensive end of the floor, going the other way. This is a Connecticut Sun team all season long who has shown toughness in these kind of moments when they've gotten down. In particular at home, they've been able to come back.
17-2 at home, including the playoffs this year. Alyssa Thomas, just 6 points thus far today. She had averaged 20.5 through the first 2 games of the finals. The WNBA Finals 2019 continue Tuesday night from here in Connecticut. It's Game 4 at 8 p.m. on ESPN2. Then Game 5, if necessary, on Thursday back in D.C. That will be at 8 Eastern on ESPN2 as well. Thomas goes 1 for 2. Jasmine Thomas, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquel Jones, Bria Holmes, and Rachel Banham, the 5 for Connecticut. Meeseman, another look from 3 and another splash.
What do you do with the two-man game when it's Tolliver and Meeseman? Both dangerous. Tolliver coming off screens, and then Meeseman with the pick, or the pop.
Banham from 3, no. Washington, 14 of 22 from 3 in this game. Special shooting from the league's most efficient offensive team of all time.
Pick and pop.
Meeseman again! She is deadly!
One thing we learned about Emma Meeseman in the semifinal series in Game 4 against Vegas is if she's open even a little bit, she will hit the shots time and time again. You see the pick, you see the pop. That's 3 for Meeseman.
The WNBA Finals, presented by YouTube TV on ABC, is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. And the new toasted cheddar chalupa at Taco Bell.
Welcome back to the WNBA Finals 2019, presented by YouTube TV. The Mystics, 15 of 23 from 3. That's 65%. The 15 threes, second most in finals history. Emma Meeseman has hit the last 3 for Washington.
Mike Thibault over the last few years has been building this team to be a positionless type of team, and he likes his 4s and 5s to have the ability to do just this. Hit from the perimeter. Emma Meeseman, 6'4". She's 3 for 3 from the three-point line. Elena Delle Donne, 6'5", is 3 for 3 from the three-point line.
Let's go, stop.
A 17-point Washington lead matches their largest of the game as Holmes got fouled on the drive and will shoot 2 as we check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, if you'll remember last year when Washington was in the finals, they were without Emma Meeseman. She was with her national team in Belgium playing in the World Cup for FIBA, preparing for that in October. This may be the missing piece that Washington needed to get that final title, the first in their franchise history. Her three-point shooting right now is the lift they needed off the bench. Keep in mind, they didn't have her in the finals and got swept last year against Seattle.
It's a great point, Ollie, and when she came back, she told Mike Thibault, you guys don't need me. You made the finals without me. And Mike Thibault said, yeah, we made the finals. We didn't win the finals. We need you to be champions.
She proved her worth in the semifinals in 3 of the 4 games against Vegas. She was really the difference offensively for Washington.
You think about the difference for the Mystics in what's been able to transpire thus far compared to what they were anticipating. They had no idea if Elena Delle Donne or Ariel Atkins would be able to play in this game up until just before tip. Obviously Delle Donne, the much more important of the two. But Delle Donne her presence alone has been important, and yeah, she's also 3 of 3 from deep.
And when you don't know if your superstar is going to play, that gives you a different mindset. And Natasha Cloud, Christy Tolliver in particular in this game, Aerial Powers as well, have come out here looking for their offense, understanding the importance of it, and really delivered.
Courtney Williams back in for Connecticut. Tolliver, step back 3. There is nothing you can do about that. And the Washington Mystics have tied a WNBA Finals record with 16 connections from deep. Alyssa Thomas finds Jasmine Thomas. No. Bria Holmes can't finish. And it eventually settles with Washington. The Mystics with the largest lead either team has had in this series. An 18-point cushion. Deladon fires. The first miss from 3 today amongst Miesemann, Tolliver, or Deladon. They had been 10 of 10 combined. Wow. That's not what you want.
And Christy Tolliver, Courtney Williams recovers well, step back through the legs, draining it. And she looks at Courtney Williams, a player who's been talking a lot this series. Quiet down.
Miesemann with the mismatch on Williams. 7 to shoot. Cloud, another open look. Short, trying to follow it up. She slapped it off of Williams. It'll stay with Washington.
Hey, watch me.
The Mystics have been a step quicker all day. That play emblematic of it. Timeout Washington. They lead by 18. Center tonight at 11 Eastern with Bucci and Anderson. They'll have Packers-Cowboys reaction from Big D, plus Dodgers-Nationals highlights in a pivotal Game 3, and Colts-Chiefs post-game coverage with a Patrick Mahomes breakdown. SportsCenter, 11 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Now, for the Washington Mystics, they knew they need players to step up outside of Elena Deladon as she plays through a small herniation of a disc in her back. They have gotten those contributions.
I mean, just outstanding, especially when you look at what they've been able to do and the efficiency from the three-point line. Tolliver, Cloud, Miesemann, all of them have come up big. And, you know, Ryan, I was at practice yesterday talking to Coach Mike Tebow, and he was assuming Elena Deladon wasn't going to play, Ariel Atkins wasn't going to play, but he seemed unfazed by it. And now I know why. He's been watching this group all season long come through in these kind of moments.
Thomas nearly came up with a steal. What's given Connecticut the most difficulty today?
Defensively, just the rotations. I mean, Kurt Miller came into this series saying, you know, Natasha Cloud was the key. And so they've been pretty effective playing off of her. Well, today she made them pay early, made them pay every time they left her. And then they continued to be efficient, hitting the three-point shots, and that kind of turns you into a tailspin defensively when your game plan isn't working.
Cloud tying a career high with 5 made threes today. And for a little more on Natasha, let's check in with Holly.
Well, when you say she was an under-the-radar player at St. Joe's coming into the WNBA draft, Mike Tebow said, I really got interested in her junior year. I would be at every game I could go to, and I believed she had the strength and length and athleticism to play in this league. He said, I wasn't going to take her in the first round because I didn't think anybody else would. He let her go to the second round, but he finally got the player that he wants. He always envisioned that this is the kind of strong lead guard she would turn into in the WNBA. He saw a diamond in the rough, and it has paid off.
Yeah, Holly, as Natasha recounts it too, she says, look, Coach T was the only player who scouted me, wanted me. And she has turned into a force in the WNBA.
And credit her for the defensive job she's done here today. She's been one of the primary reasons that Courtney Williams has struggled. Williams
1 of 8 from the floor. Bria Holmes on the steal. Trying to finish on this end. She does. Does Connecticut have a run left in them? They went on a 12-0 burst in a 3.5-minute stretch at the end of the second quarter. to cut the deficit to 2. Cloud, step back jumper, short. Deladon, the offensive rebound, and the jumper. Hobbling into the backcourt after putting down her 4th field goal of the game.
Bria Holmes has had too many of those today.
She's gotten a lot of minutes for this Connecticut Sun team. Jones just flops to the floor. Jonquel Jones will check out. Now, Alyssa Thomas still has not sat in this series. You only have 1 day of rest between games 3 and 4. Down 16 here. If you're Curt Miller, when do you start thinking about getting her a blow?
I give it another 90 seconds. See if maybe Courtney Williams can come alive. If you can score a couple buckets, get a couple stops, you feel like you're back into it. If not, you sit her.
Tolliver wiggling, stolen by Alyssa Thomas. She'll blast right by Deladon and lay it in. Timeout, Mike Tebow, who is furious.
I mean, Alyssa Thomas, one of the best defenders in the WNBA. Lazy pass by Christy Tolliver. Thomas is going to get out and finish, and that's why you leave her on the floor. You give it one more chance here to come back. Connecticut's had comebacks this year. The regular season game against Vegas, they came back from a deficit. At the end of a game against Seattle, they came back from a deficit. And Alyssa Thomas was a big part of both of those. You see there, man, she's played heavy minutes throughout this series.
See if Connecticut has one last run in them with 4:18 to go, down 14 in a game that has been completely controlled by Washington. Connecticut went on that 12-0 run to cut it to 2 right at the end of the second quarter. Then they cut it to 1 multiple times at the very beginning of the third. But shortly after that, Washington built back a double-digit lead that they've held since. A stop here as that's out of bounds. It last touches Washington. Connecticut ball.
Did Alyssa Thomas just throw aerial powers to the floor?
A throw, a gentle tug. Here's Holmes on the attack, lays it in, and that's what Bria Holmes can do. Meeseman, an open look from 3, no. Rebound, Thomas. A chance for Connecticut, trying to make it a push here. Morgan Tuck hooks it in. Don't go away yet, it's a 10-point game. A 10-2 run from the Sun.
Pick and pop, middle of the floor.
Deladon on the drive, the attack, and the finish! Elena Deladon, insistent on carrying her team. Holmes from 3, no. Bria Holmes now 0 of 4 from deep.
That last score by Elena Deladon was huge. She's been unwilling to take it to the rim most of this game because of her back, and knew she had to there.
Meeseman, the spin, couldn't wedge it in, but did get the whistle. It will shoot 2.
Elena Deladon has been very effective shooting from the perimeter, so Alyssa Thomas closes out hard on her. Not only does she take it inside, doesn't shy from the contact. Huge bucket from the MVP.
Washington needed that one for the exhale. 13 points, 6 rebounds in 26 minutes. Rebecca, how involved has Deladon been in keeping Jones off the offensive glass in this game.
She's done a really good job on her. It's been by committee, though. Tiana Hawkins had some great minutes boxing out Jones. When Deladon's been in there, she hasn't shied away from it. But it's been a true team effort to secure those defensive boards by the Washington Mystics.
That one looked like it was kicked by Tolliver. Jasmine Thomas off on the jumper. Whistle underneath. We'll keep it here. Washington had a foul to give.
You got to sub.
Latoya Sanders will come and grab Elena Deladon.
What's the bad screen?
How about the effort from Deladon today?
Player on you.
26 minutes, 13 points, 6 boards. Tuck tried to barrel in, lost it. Frenetic possession for Connecticut, and a foul against Washington. That was just their 4th team foul, so still a side out of bounds for the Sun.
Same set.
Thomas in traffic, able to swoop that in. Alyssa Thomas, 13 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists.
And look at her, still picking up full court, a one-woman press.
Ten to shoot. Cloud on the attack. Natasha Cloud got fouled and will shoot a pair.
How about the Washington Mystics' ability to render this sellout crowd ineffective? You know, from the beginning of the game, jumped out on Connecticut. Connecticut's last lead was when the score was 4-3.
17-2 in this building. A sellout crowd, as you mentioned, frenzied before the game, ready to explode, and with very few opportunities too. Natasha Cloud now 19 points. And Courtney Williams and Jonquel Jones totally muted by the Washington defense here in game 3. Jasmine Thomas hits a 3. Tolliver escapes the double in the backcourt. 1:10 to go in the 4th quarter of game 3. And Alyssa Thomas called for the foul as Tolliver hit the deck. 5th foul on Alyssa Thomas.
You don't want to foul with 4 seconds to go on the shot clock, but this is the one that I always wonder about, because is that not legal guarding position by Alyssa Thomas? You know, Chrissy Tolliver runs into her. I guess she didn't completely beat her to the spot, and therefore it's the foul.
Meanwhile, how about the performance from Tolliver? 19 points now, 10 assists after she was very critical of herself following a disappointing game 2 performance. She's still playing not nearly at 100% with a knee injury, but delivering for her team here in a pivotal game 3.
Not only the 19 points, Ryan, but the efficiency. 7 of 9, 4 for 4. And to do it from the very beginning of the game, when you're kind of showing your teammates, yeah, we have Elena, but we know she's not 100%, but I'm going to be out here calming my teammates. And you certainly sense that. When one of your leaders looks like herself, looks like she's willing to take control offensively, it settles other people down, and I think Christy did that.
Connecticut winning game 2 the way they did in Washington. Deladon's injury, knowing how well the Sun play here at home, this series, it felt like it seriously shifted momentum to Connecticut. I mean, just how impressive has this performance been from Washington?
Ridiculously so. And again, going back to Mike Tebow in practice yesterday, there was still that sense of calm about him. I think it helps a ton that this Washington team played in the finals a year ago. They have this experience, and you know, they've overcome adversity. We talked about it. Kristi Tolliver missed a huge chunk of the season, missed a third of the season because of injury, and other people stepped up and played well. So this is a team that great chemistry, great confidence in one another.
Mike Tebow was joking with us before the game. He said both he and Elena, when they first looked at the WNBA Finals schedule, you saw the numbers for Tolliver, they saw the gap between games 2 and 3 and said, oh, that's going to be awful. They said, now we both said, oh, thank God for that gap.
That's a blessing.
It ended up the biggest blessing for them to get Delle Donne in position to play in this game. Turned over by Williams, who has had a very rough game 3. Tremendous defense all afternoon on Williams from Washington. Williams 1 of 8 from the floor, 4 points. Tolliver gives it up. Sanders, no. Powers the offensive rebound and is fouled.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. All those offensive rebounds mine, baby. All the rebounds mine, baby.
I love it. I love the attitude and the effort from Aerial Powers. Fearless. I mean, she's been involved in a lot of physical play today, and she keeps going in there.
Can you wipe the ball out? Can I see that? No, I don't think so. That's good.
Alyssa Thomas will finally sit in this series. Meanwhile, Kristi Tolliver, job well done as she heads to Washington's bench. 20 points, 10 assists on 7 of 9 shooting. An incredibly efficient Kristi Tolliver.
You already know.
Powers with 8 rebounds off the bench. Washington a +8 on the glass after they were a -14 in game 2. Plaisance off on the 3. It's all cosmetic at this point as Williams gets one to drop, her second field goal of the game. Cloud will dribble this out. The Washington Mystics are a win away from their first WNBA title. They take game 3 in commanding fashion. 94-81 the final. The Washington Mystics with a 2-1 series lead in this best-of-5 finals.
And doing it true to their identity by sharing the basketball, by having multiple players hit from the three-point line, having contributions from their bench. That's what led them to the best record in the league this season. That's what leads them to a win here in game 3.
Elena Delle Donne clearly no